Nitai Gaur Hari Bhar Hari Bhar Hari Bhar Nitai Gaur Hari Bhar Nitai Nitai Hari Bhar Hari Bhar Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 19, The Appearance of Sukadeva Goswami, verse number 24. Tata chava prichyam imam vipricche. Tata chava prichyam imam privicche. Vishramba vipra itikritya tatyam. Sarvatmanam miramanaischa krityam sudam cha tatram nrit sadaviyuktam. Word for word, tata, as such, cha, and, va, unto you, prithyam, that which is to be asked, imam, this, viprithye, beg to ask you, vishrabhya, trustworthy, vipra, brahmanas, iti, thus, krityatatyam, out of all different duties, sarva atmana, by everyone, mriyamanai, especially those who are just about to die. Cha, and, krityam, dutiful, sudam, perfectly correct, cha, and, tatra, therein, amrit sata, by complete debilitation, aviyukta, just befitting. So Sukadeva Goswami, in speaking to the Brahmanas who are there, he's sitting on the banks of the Ganges, and he's prepared to fast till death. The Brahmanas, sages, saints, and great personalities have come all from the universe just to witness and be in the association of this great king who is about to give up his life through fasting. O trustworthy Brahmanas, I now ask you about my immediate duty. Please, after proper deliberation, tell me of the unalloyed duty of everyone in all circumstances, and specifically of those who are just about to die. Purport. Go down the page. Okay, hold it there. Too far. There. In this verse, the king has placed two questions before the learned sages. The first question is, what is the duty of everyone in all circumstances? And the second question is, what is the specific duty of one who is to die very shortly? Out of the two, the question relating to the dying man is more important because everyone is a dying man, either very shortly or after 100 years. The duration of life is immaterial. But the duty of a dying man is very important. Maharaj Pariksit placed these two questions before Sukadev Goswami also on his arrival. And practically the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam, beginning from the second canto up to the last, the 12th canto, deals with these two questions. The conclusion arrived at, therefore, is that devotional service of Lord Shri Krishna, as is confirmed by the Lord himself in the last phases of the Bhagavad Gita, is the last word in relation to everyone's permanent duty in life. Maharaj Pariksit was already aware of this fact, but he wanted the great sages assembled there to unanimously give their verdict on his conviction, so that he may be able to go on with his confirmed duty without controversy. He has especially mentioned the word Suddha, or perfectly correct. For transcendental realization or self-realization, many processes are recommended by various classes of philosophers. Oh, you jumped off. Some of them are first-class methods, and some of them are second or third-class methods. The first-class method demands that one give up all other methods and surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord, and thus be saved from all sins and their reactions. Om Gyan Timidandasya Ganajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ma Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pastyatya De Satarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Paebacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The verse is very fundamental to understanding very essential principles. One, two questions are being asked by Maharaj Pariksit. He's being glorified for these questions. Sukadeva Goswami later on says these are the most important questions that anyone can ask. What is my duty in this world, in all circumstances? And what is the duty, or what is the business of a person who is just about to die? And Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharma Parikshitam Mamekam Saramam Bhajam Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayashyami Mahasuchaha. He says, surrender to me and give up all of your ideas how you can become successful in this world, and just surrender to me. The meaning of that verse is that we have so many ideas how we can be happy, successful, progressive, beneficial in this world. Krishna says, forget all these things. They'll never work. He says, just surrender to me and I'll take care of you. By surrendering to, what does it mean to surrender to Krishna? It means to adhere to the instructions given by Krishna in both the Bhagavad Gita and in, of course, Srimad Bhagavatam. But those instructions are given to the living entities through the process of disciplic succession, or the spiritual master. Spiritual master is the empowered representative of the Lord to teach the process of surrender. And once one surrenders, they're guided on the path back home, back to Godhead. Some of us are surrendered 10%, 20%, 40%, 50%, maybe even up to 80%. It's hardly to find someone who's surrendered 100%, because that percentage is very rare. Because in this world, people still have their own conceptions on how they're going to benefit their life. And although they agree with Krishna in principle, they don't know the complete benefit of simply adhering exclusively to Krishna's guidance through the spiritual master. Spiritual master is empowered by the Lord to do this work by bringing the conditioned souls out of the entanglement of material energy and back onto the path of pure devotional service. And so that knowledge is given to the spiritual master. But sometimes we're hesitant, we are somewhat reluctant, we can't understand the instructions, or for some reason, maybe we don't even agree with the instructions. And therefore, our surrender is somewhat limited or partial. But Krishna doesn't want partial surrender because he can't work with that. He can only work with us when we're completely surrendered. It's like a little child. They may obey the father when they feel like it, and when they don't want to, then they don't. So therefore, the child's independence is somewhat contrary to the child's best interest. Because the parents can guide and have love for the child. Therefore, whatever they do will be ultimately beneficial and progressive for the child's welfare. But the child can't understand that. So we are like children. We can't understand when Krishna says surrender to me, what he actually means. So what it actually means is there are so many ways that you can make progress in this world, through various types of using your intelligence and various types of principles of spiritual upliftment. And there are so many. There are so many ways that one can go from a lower level of material existence to a higher level of material existence, and ultimately reach to the platform of the mode of goodness. But even the mode of goodness is entangling because it still causes one to take birth in this material world. And it relegates one's idea that somehow I can somehow or other save myself. I can also benefit myself. But Krishna says, just completely depend on me through the process of the spiritual master's guidance. One will be benefited, because that is the authorized process that works. And Mahajano Yena Kata Sambandha means that one has to follow the instructions of those who have come before us and who have successfully traversed the path of bhakti to the path of perfection. When we accept that type of guidance, we are, what we say, we don't have nothing to worry about. So everything is taken care of automatically through that full surrender. But then again, devotees, they don't understand what it means to surrender. As Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, surrender is not something you do and it's done. It's not like that. Surrender is a moment to moment understanding of a certain consciousness that simply depends on Krishna for everything. Manaso deho geho, yogichumor arpilu to alpade, Nanda Kishore, Bhakti Vinod Thakur praise. My home, my wife, my family, my possession, my very body, it's yours. It belongs to you. I offer everything that I do to you as an offering of devotion to you. And in that mood, one is happy. Because we're happy because we have full faith in the process of bhakti as given by Krishna and the Gita, and of course, instructions of the spiritual master. So therefore bhakti is easy. Prabhupada presents that point in one verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the fourth canto. There is an element of a certain quality that makes bhakti easy, and there's a certain quality. Without that quality, bhakti becomes impossible. I might say difficult. What is that quality? Prabhupada presents the question. Some people say the process of bhakti or devotional service is easy, and others say it's very difficult. So posing the question, then he says, well, what is it? Is it difficult or is it easy? And then later on in the same purport, he gives the answer. So who would like to offer a suggestion, or maybe you actually know, what is that one quality, just one word, that makes it easy or makes it impossible and difficult? Hmm?
Humility.
Hmm?
Humility.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Humility.
Humility? That's very nice, thank you.
Sincerity.
Sincerity? Get closer. Faith? Who said that? Nice, very nice.
Enthusiasm.
Wow, we're really getting close now.
Love.
Huh?
Love.
All of these are important. What's the driving force for all these qualities?
Determination.
Determination. There's the word. Prabhupada said, whether it's easy or hard, still, I'm determined to keep myself focused on the process of devotional service. To, to, to perform devotional service when it's easy, that's nice. And when it's not easy, what happens? Or becomes difficult or appears to be contrary to what we like or what we don't like, then that's the test. And the principle of determination is the principle of faith in the process of bhakti. And how do you get determination? What is determination? Determination is actually a function of this intelligence to discriminate between what is beneficial for our Krishna consciousness and what is unbeneficial. And once we understand that principle, become determined to execute the process that way. Using example of Srila Prabhupada, he said, I had to walk through fire in order to spread this movement. He says, I didn't look left, I didn't look right. I looked only straight ahead at the instructions of my spiritual master as the guiding force. So devotional service is a process of purification. And the obstacles and the difficulties that we encounter in devotional service are opportunities to overcome these obstacles. When one should never see obstacles as deterrents or difficulties. One should see obstacles as an opportunity for purification, for greater learning, for greater dependence on Sri Krishna and his mercy. All these things. So for a devotee, everything is auspicious as long as they have that faith and apply that faith in a determined way. But then again, you might say, well, how do you get it? I don't have it. Or I have it, but I don't have it complete. So it comes by associating with those who are fixed in Krishna consciousness. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Sresti Hoy, Lavamata Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. When we have that association that is determined, fixed in Krishna consciousness, it inspires us, and we sort of want to become. We are affected by that association, and we also help to develop those qualities. So Prabhupada mentions very consistently, regularly, that the most important part of the execution of devotional service is association of Vaishnavas, where everything else is the ingredients for that association, hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, serving, taking prasadam together, doing various forms of worship. All of these are done in the association of Vaishnavas. And when those Vaishnavas are enthusiastic and fixed in devotional service, everyone gets the benefit. when there is a bright sun out, the light of that one sun can light up the whole area, even for those who are not so shiny, to use a very simple word. So this determination is available through the association of devotees. And of course, the essence of that activity is to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. And then the second question, which is, as this purport says, is more important than the first question. What is the duty of a man about to die? And Srila Prabhupada would always say, we all are on that same concern. Prabhupada said, whether it's 10 minutes, 10 years, 100 years, it's inevitable because the material body is ultimately perishable. It's just in the way this material body is. You can't, if you want to live forever, get a spiritual body. Now, you actually have a spiritual body, but the material body is the interference of that spiritual body. So we have to diminish the effects of the spiritual body, material body, and increase the quality of our spiritual body through the power of our devotional service. And then even one may still be in this material world, but the body doesn't affect them. And therefore, even at the time of death, it becomes the gateway to eternal life rather than just a relinquishing of something that I really want. Actually, to understand this principle and clearly, we have to understand what is the reality of that situation in the sense that we don't die. If we have that understanding that I don't die, then what actually dies? It's the material body, or anything that's material goes through 6 changes: birth, growth, stays for sometimes, produces some byproducts, dwindles, and vanishes. Anything material has these characteristics, but spiritual is completely the opposite. It never began, or it never ends. It is eternally existing, always. That's us. So when you know you don't die, that's the good news, isn't it? Hey, I'm going to hang around forever. But the question is where you want to be. That's the point. Do you want to be in a situation which is actually still full of difficulties, or you want to create that atmosphere which is conducive to our existence as a spirit? And that is ultimately to attain to the perfection stage and go back home, back to Godhead, the spiritual world. So knowing that me, the occupier of the body, is eternal, really helps one to free from the anxiety of leaving this world. Because I guess you might say, why do devotees have some fear of death? They still do. Not so much because they know they're eternal and they'll know that they exist somewhere, but they don't know where they're going to go. That's it. We're not sure. Will I make it? Will I come back in another situation? Do I still have some debts to people I didn't pay? That means I have to come back and pay those debts. In other words, devotees have this anxiety about death because they're not completely, fully certain about their destination. But that can be clarified when we fix our mind on the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service. And Krishna says, Taktva deham purna janmani naiti mameti surjano, that you'll come back to me in devotion, where there's no doubt. He gives the assurance that one who worships him in devotion will actually attain to that position of eternally worshiping him in the spiritual world, in his personal association. So devotees have to somehow or other formulate and develop that understanding that there's no fear of death, and ultimately Krishna is there. in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he said, I'm the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. You see, there's a picture. The living entity is swimming in the ocean, and Krishna is riding on Garuda. I guess it's Vishnu. And he's reaching down to kind of pull you out of that ocean because even though you're a good swimmer, oceans are not some, place to be. So this is Krishna's special mercy. He takes care of his devotee all the way. And it says for a devotee who has reached the stage of purity, death is like going to sleep and waking up. And it says it's like a flash. There's no calculation of time between the pure devotees leaving the body and they're back into the spiritual world. There's no measurement of time. It's instantaneous. Instantaneous. So devotees have no fear if they simply stay fixed in devotional service. And the most important part of our devotional service, along with the association of devotees, is to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. This has to be done regularly because that will attract Krishna's mercy more and more. And we also become purified simply by hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. The mind becomes clear, the intelligence becomes sharp, and then the devotee looks forward as much as they can to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada gave us so many books, which we cannot exhaust in hundreds of lifetimes, of the glories of the Lord. We have to take time to read these books, hear from Srila Prabhupada and from our spiritual masters, and then ultimately absorb ourselves in this mood. Because if we do, then we enter into the spiritual consciousness. There's so many interesting things in this world, right? The news will make everything interesting, right? Or even the underground news makes it more interesting. There's always something going on, this is happening, this, and we get kind of like, excited about what's happening in the world of death. But still, these things are superfluous to our progress in spiritual life. Some of it may have some value. We can somehow or other adjust our material life in such a way as not to be affected by certain things that are happening. But ultimately, hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord brings one to a higher state of consciousness automatically. You'll see here, Maharaj Parikshit, he gave up his family, nice family, qualified wife, children. He was a powerful king, undisputed in the world. He had treasury, he had ministers, he had everything, unrivaled. And he gave it up like it was like you go to the toilet and then you walk out, then you forget about what happened. It's, this is how he gave it up, just like, just like that. And now all he wants to do is understand what is my duty now. I'm about to die. He decided to fast until death. Now the sages have come. Sukadev Goswami will appear. And soon as Sukadev Goswami appears, everyone gets up. Although many of them are senior to him in age, still they all welcome him as the most advanced of all great souls. And he will speak Srimad Bhagavatam. And for 7 full days, Maharaj Pariksit simply hears. It's described in other places that he heard for 6 days, and just before the narration by Sukadev Goswami of the 10th canto, Sukadev Goswami stopped and said, Maharaj, do you want to rest? Do you want some water? Do you want to, in other words, you want to take a break? He said, this is what I've been waiting for, Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. He was more enthusiastic. And when Sukadev Goswami heard that, he became more enthusiastic to recite So he was never tired of hearing, even after hearing for 6 full days. And this was round the clock. There wasn't any break. That was through the night and continuation. And they were absorbed. And this is the power of pure chanting and pure hearing. His hearing was perfect, the chanting was perfect, and therefore they transcended all of the bodily needs and simply were absorbed. And so this indication here is that the same answer applies to each and every soul, that those who want to benefit before they're dying, they should hear and chant the glories of the Lord, absorb themselves in that process, and then that will transport their consciousness back into that arena where these pastimes are actually eternally going on, the spiritual world. Okay. Any questions, comments from either online or offline? Okay, yes, Hare Krishna. Yasoda, yeah. Thank you.
Said that I want some clarification. One was said that devotees are fearful of dying because they don't know where they're going.
That's the only fear they have. They're not afraid of death. They're afraid of where am I going to go.
And you said that anyone that engages in devotional service is going back to Krishna. But then you also said that Krishna wants us to surrender 100%. We're not at that point. I'm kind of like at that like 10% point. So we do 10% surrender in devotional service. Are we still going back to Godhead, or does that still have a
Well, at the time of death, you get a chance to finish that 90%. You can. If you've given your life, and I know you have, to devotional service, and if whatever percentage is left, then Krishna will make arrangements for that soul to finish up. And then if you take advantage of that, then that's perfection. So, but we shouldn't consider, well, if that's the case, then I'll just surrender 10% or 20%, and I'll just do the other 80 at the time. No, it doesn't work like that. Yeah. It means that we try in our utmost to serve in the best way we can and develop those qualities that are conducive for service. And then whatever's left, then Krishna will. He's very kind to his devotees. He always makes arrangements. Even there's examples of devotees who had left the movement and went back to their old sinful ways. But somehow, when the news came that they were going to leave the body, they came back to devotional service. And there's one person, his name was Sudam Maharaj. He went back to, you know, taking drugs and doing all kinds of things. And then when he learned that he had some terminal disease, he came back and took association with devotees. And that went on for some time. And of course, he was debilitated because of his sickness, but he stayed in that association. And it's been described that at this last moment, when he was just about to die, he looked in a certain direction and he said, Prabhupada, you've come. And that was the last thing he said. So Prabhupada came to pick him back up and take him back to maybe his association, maybe the spiritual world. In other words, the mercy of the Lord in the form of a pure devotee was there at the time of death. Although he somehow or other fell away. But Krishna never forgets what service we do. He's eternally grateful, even to the smallest amount of service. But we shouldn't take advantage of that and just take it easy because of that. The idea is that ultimately the process of devotional service is engaged in such a way as the devotee becomes more and more enthusiastic to serve. As we go on, our enthusiasm for service should be increasing. If it's not, then we have to see what it is that is holding us back. Is it offenses? Some strong material attachments? Something. But yeah, so Krishna's there. So that 100% may not happen, in your lifetime, but it's available. If you give yourself completely to the process. Yes.
So, in terms of following the spiritual master's instructions, what role does timeliness play? Because we see that
What role does
timeliness,
time?
timeliness,
Time?
Timeliness, being on time.
time play in
You mean time? You mean like
because we know that children spiritual master gave you an instruction.
oh, but he couldn't do it until later on.
When they are thankful for this. But I'm just wondering, what is the time?
Well, I don't think if you understand the situation using the Prabhupada's example, he was always trying, but he had his own way of doing it until he again re-entered into the instruction. Yeah, Prabhupada thought, all right, I'll do it here in India. But that wasn't the instructions. He told him to go to the West. But he said, but Prabhupada was thinking, first I'll establish myself in India in preaching and developing it, and then I'll take it to the West. But Krishna frustrated all of that and made it impossible for him to find any success in. But he was always trying. But then at one point, then he realized in 1936, when Bhakti Siddhanta was just about to leave, he gave him that same instruction again, the second time. But then he added an instruction on it. He said, if you ever get money, print books. So he gave him a second instruction. But the first instruction was again reiterated in 1936. And then when Bhakti Siddhanta left the world and Prabhupada was more clear, then he was trying to detach himself from all of his family and his occupation, and gradually he eventually moved into a mood of renunciation, preparing himself. He stayed 5 years in Vrindavan, preparing himself to go to the West. So yeah, if you're applying that instructions in a general sense, we should always ask, how can I execute that instruction? To put our own timeline on it may not be, what's the word, safe, because we may not make it. I wanted to surrender, but I can't. I don't, somehow situations changed. And now I'm leaving the world, but I have not fully surrendered yet. So I haven't executed that instructions. There are devotees who lament that at the time of their departure, there was some unfulfilled desires that they wanted to do in accordance with the instructions of their spiritual master. So we should never be in that position. Oh, boy, now it's too late. Why did I do this? Why didn't I surrender more? Don't come to that. That's very lamentable. Yeah. So we also say there's only one time, and that's now. The future just an idea. And the past is gone. The present is the reality. So if you live in the present, the future will take care of itself. You give your utmost in every minute. The conditioned souls are always thinking, yes, I'm not happy now. My plans are not fulfilled, but in the future I'll be successful. This is big time Maya. Now, now is the time to do what is the most important thing is become serious in the execution of devotional service. And how you execute that seriousness, you may have to get advice from your spiritual masters. It's not getting serious means I leave everything and I go to the Himalayas or I go to Vrindavan. That's not necessarily the idea. The idea is what does it take for me to make progress in my present situation in devotional service? I think Bhakti Tirtha Swami was fundamental in giving that advice. He said, I may be exactly not paraphrasing him properly, but he said, my dear Lord, whatever it takes to become more surrendered in your devotional service, bring it on. And whatever it takes to become free from all of those things in my life, take them away. So he gave kind of a formula for surrender. Nice, huh? I mean, that's complete. So if we make that prayer, you'll see things happen. No doubt. Things will happen. Sincerely, that is, if we make the prayer. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you for speaking about surrender. I was just wondering when you were speaking about determination, um, you're saying that whether it's easy or hard, we should go on with devotion service, and that's determination. And then you're saying that determination is a function of the intelligence to discern what's favorable and what's not. So I'm just trying to understand the two things together, like whether it's easy or hard, we go on at the same time. We're using our plans.
Well, determination and discrimination is the first principle of the intelligence. And once one discriminates, one becomes determined to carry out their decision. First, you discriminate between what is favorable or what is not favorable. And when you understand what's favorable, then you become determined to carry that out. That's how it works. All right, so you understand, all right, I should be there to dress the deities on time. So you're there on time now. The determination is how nicely to do the service. That's an example. Yes, I think I know you. Oh, Taruni. Okay, Hare Krishna. You.
Clear of their instructions and showed us how simple and yet it was.
Well, thank you. It's all the mercy of Prabhupada. He's made it simple. Anyone else? Yeah.
Looking at the what is surrender, the sixth aspect.
What is surrender?
Yeah.
There's six symptoms of surrender there.
Right, acceptance, being able to
Right.
protection, to feel dependent on the mercy of the Lord, to feel meek and humble. And then the last one is my question.
Humility.
Have no interest separate from the interests of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could explain that one, what is the interest of the Lord?
Yeah, that comes with the instructions of the spiritual master or the guidance that you receive from the authorities. That becomes our interest. It doesn't mean we don't do other things. It just means we put the interests of the Lord foremost. That's all. It's just like we have family, so we have to take care of families. There's some responsibilities and the position of the role we play within the family. And then, of course, there's occupation, maybe that's needed in order to maintain things. But that goes on. But then that should be supportive of our spiritual life and not taking away from it. So if something takes away from the interest of the Lord or our devotional service, then that should be strengthened and again purified so it doesn't take it away. Like sometimes I give you an example. Uh, anyway, all right, there's a big festival going on, and all the devotees are coming to Gita Nagari, and there'll be so many leaders will be there, and it'll be a nice festival. And you're planning to go, and you're all ready to go. You got your plane ticket, and you got everything in line. And then all of a sudden, a family member says, "We're getting married. And please come to our wedding. You are one of our most important family members." And it's on the same day. Hare Krishna. And you can expect that because that happens. So then you think, well, Krishna consciousness is always there, but this marriage doesn't happen all the time. That means you chose the material over the spiritual. Our real obligation is our relationship with Krishna and to build on that. Everything else supports that. If something takes away from it, then that should be rejected. And that takes some understanding, maybe some experience to understand what is favorable and what's not favorable. That can be uh, that can be just explained to you. That takes some intelligence. What's favorable or what's not favorable. Yes, Minnesota.
To follow on what you just said and what your response was. So the devotee could justify that by saying, okay, I didn't want to go to the festival. I've been invited to this wedding. I'm going to go to the wedding and I'm going to like give a, maybe they ask them person to give a speech. So I'm going to talk to them about Christian. I'm going to somebody other. So,
I don't like that one at all. Forget that one. That's cheating. They don't care about your speech. The wedding's more important. Whatever else they're doing. I mean, you should understand one thing. When you attempt to make some qualitative progress in Krishna consciousness, Maya is going to be there. And she's going to give you some reasons why you shouldn't take part or something's more important or something. She does that. And just to strengthen our resolve. She takes, yeah, and I see it all the time. It's not that the road back to Godhead is sometimes very difficult because Maya knows what you're still attached to, and she'll bring those attachments just at the time when you want to make some progress in devotional service. She'll do it all the time. But that's her business, to make us stronger by accepting Krishna over all of these other things. So that's a nice thing you said, but I don't agree. Maybe somebody else may agree, but I don't. I can't see the benefit in that. Yes. And Janavatsal, is it?
Like size points, easy to understand and like to express everything. Whenever you talked about the surrender prayer that B.T. Swami said, Bhagavatam said,
Yeah.
is it sufficient to make that prayer once and then it acts on your life throughout the rest of your life? The surrender being the thing, what happens? Do you need to make that prayer again or just keep that?
The process of bhakti is swimming against the current. So we need all the help we can. So these reminders of what we want to do and how we want to approach the Lord for his mercy should be something that it becomes a part of our sadhana. It should be regular, not just we say it once. But then, as time goes on, Maya wears us down with other allurements. So yeah. It's something that should be done. And I'm not saying you have to do it every day, but regularly. At least always be aware that this is what you want. That's the most important thing. Yes, Sudevi. Hey. What device we can get for to bring about determination? Well, one thing we did say, associating with those who are determined. That's very powerful. But there's another one, which I didn't mention. The more we give up our attachment to sense gratification, the more we become determined in Krishna conscious. And Prabhupada uses the point, if you give up the desire for sex life, then you become very determined. Because that is the strongest anchor in this material world, both subtle and gross aspect. So then determination becomes more natural and easy. But in general, reducing our attachment to Maya, increasing our attachment to Krishna makes us more determined. Okay, so we have to stop here? Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank
you for
you.
Jai Shri Shri Radha Damodar Lalita Vishakha Devi ki jai.
Yay.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Still watching it. Oh, my mind's scared. Okay.
Lovely darshan. Such a day, isn't it? Is this a temple, Sri Devi Mataji?
Yeah, this is Gita Nagari. This
Okay,
is where
okay.
Radha Damodar are, and that's Lalita Vishakha on both sides. This is the main temple hall. To the left is a beautiful murti of Srila Prabhupada. And that is
Oh.
Parijata, the temple president and his wife. They are managing this temple. Parijata and Dhruva have started the first Ahimsa dairy in North America. The first certified organic cow. That means basically because we are into cow protection, we've
Yes.
got the certification to be the first slaughter-free dairy in USA because
Wow.
of them.
Wow.
Yeah, doing fantastic service there.
Wow. Such a beautiful service.
This is where Bhakti Tita Maharaj wanted a farm community to come up, and it has been there now for almost 30 years, I would say.
Wow.
His first disciples, he called them, and they all came together to form the farm community there.
And, lovely. Thank you for telling us.
Prabhupada was on his way to Gita Nagari in the last few months of his life. He said, I will go to Gita Nagari, I will go there, I will sit down, and I will teach you how to live off the land. But his health failed, and in London, he had to turn back and come back to India. He came to Juhu, then went to Vrindavan, and then just gave up the body after a few weeks. But he was on his way to Gita Nagari.
Oh, no, his wish was there. Wow. Those devotees are blessed.
Thank you.
These are the
very
deities
much.
that went on the traveling bus party with Vishnu Jan Maharaj and Tamal Krishna Maharaj, crisscrossing United States and getting hundreds of brahmacharis to join our Hare Krishna movement. Radha Damodar.
These deities.
Yes, these
Oh,
deities
wow.
were on the bus. Radha Damodar traveling Sankirtan party, the bus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're in the mood of God Nitai because they traveled everywhere giving mercy. Very
Oh.
merciful.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
And Prabhupada named these deities Radha Damodar, saying, Damodar, he's very naughty. You've got to tie him up. So we'll call him Radha Damodar. Yes,
Oh.
yes. Now they are in Gita Nagari. That's right, Bonnie.
Thank you very much, Sri Devi Mataji, for sharing. All glory to Sri Prabhupada. All glories to Gurudev. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
These are the devotees and these are the deities who first gave me mercy 20 years ago when I came new to United States, and they connected me with Gurudev, and that's how I became a Hare Krishna. The first
Wow.
deities.
Wow. So I can see your attachment to these deities. Definitely. Like for us, Radha Gokulananda.
Not Taruna Krishna, Tamal Krishna Goswami. Tamal.
At least we got to see the whole aarti today.
You are welcome. There's a whole book on Radha Damodar Vilas. It's called Radha Damodar Vilas, and many beautiful pastimes about Radha Damodar are there.
Oh, Jaya Vishnu Padma Sri Jaya. The purpose is that we should be like, see the light of the sun, use the light of the moon, glory to God, light to God. This time, the Acharya, the divine person of Prabhupada, Jaya. Jaya Vishnu Padma Sri Jaya. Asam Sata Sri Divine Person. You are one of the four people of the Divine. One of the Koti rights of the Namacharyas, Haridas, Gorgi, Shivu Sanatana Bhagavani, Shiva Lopa, Afraduna Sandus, Peace, Primsika Ho, Shikar, Take them, Yahana, Children without arms, Vasadi Gorn, Bhakti, people, Three Sundara, Krishna Lopa, Vina, Shamanura, Hearing over the now, nothing, why for down, Vedanapuriyanti, Shikiranayati, Governamaiti, Jumanayati, Siddhaviti, Bhakti-deviti, Samvedavati, Isradha, Hey, Lalita Vishaka, Hey, Isto, Hey, Harinaravishan, here for king. Lift high your praise. Glory to the assembly. Glory to the assembly. All glory to the assembly. Glory to Shiguru and Shiguru. This is what we're going to be.